far as the role of women, it is important, but it's also different from men. It's not the same. And the Apostle Paul recognized and appreciated faithful women who served the Lord. For an example, in Philippians 4:3 talked about those women who labored in the gospel. Women ought to share the gospel where they can and how they can and so on. But he also clearly taught they're not to exercise authority in the home or in the church. 1 Timothy 2:11, you know what it says. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, comma, nor to usurp authority. He didn't say I suffer not a woman to teach because she's usurping authority. He said I suffer not a woman to teach, comma. Teaching is in the church. You're talking about spiritual authority here. Suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing. In other words, she'll be saved from deception if she stays in her role. If they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. The woman is the weaker vessel. That's why Satan approached her, not the man, in Genesis 3. And that's why God said, I suffer not a woman to teach. Now, Titus 3. So here's the bottom line. Obviously, women can teach their children. I mean, what about Timothy? Paul said, from a child thou hast known the Holy Scriptures. Well, his mother and grandmother taught him the Holy Scriptures, not his dad. His dad was lost. So there's a place for that. And also, women can teach other women in regard to their responsibilities in the home, Titus 3, Titus 2, verse 3. The aged women likewise, they be in behavior. Now, notice this, behavior. I'm going to submit to you that most likely the issue here is you teach by example, not having a seminar on home economics. Right? The best way to teach is by example. The aged women likewise, that they be in behaviors becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women. And here is the parameters. It's very clear. To be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands. Is that the word of God? Be not blasphemed. To get out of line with this is to blaspheme the word of God. By example, they can teach this. And maybe, they can pull a lady off to the side, say, hey, this is what I've learned, and let me be a help to you and whatever. That's fine. But, the reason why Paul said that, because no pastor can get up and teach those things to a woman. That's why there's a need for that, for aged women to teach young women these things, because there's no way a pastor could do that. Right? So that's the place. Nothing else. There's not one example in the Word of God of a women's Bible teacher who's pastoring women. Right? Do the women have a husband? Let them ask him at home. Do they have a pastor? Let them learn from the church. So, it's usurping the role of a pastor when a woman wants to pastor another woman. It's not the place. So, I say that because every time I've seen it for years. Look, I've been in the ministry almost over 20 years. Been preaching almost 25 years, actually. It's hard to believe. But been in the ministry over 20 years. And I've seen it again and again, where when you get out of line, a little leaven's the whole lump, and that thing just snowballs. Ask Beth Moore about that thing. And every women's teacher said, well, I won't be that way. That's what she said. You see, that's how that thing works. And yeah, look, in the grace movement, we got some of this coming up, and most of the grace pastors just don't have the backbone to say anything about it. That's the bottom line of it. They're afraid what their wife will say when they get home. What a shame, man. So that's just something that needs to be said, because I've seen this. They'll go in here. Look, some say, well, a woman can't teach those things unless she teaches doctrine first. So you're going to add to the Word of God? Is that what the Word of God says? That's not what it says. Don't add to the Word of God. That's what they do with Acts 21. Well, Philip's daughters prophesied, so they were on TBN, up there prophesying on TV. They were in a house, and they didn't even have the authority to tell Paul anything. God sent a man to tell them in the next verse. When you come to the Bible with an agenda, you get messed up every time. Don't ever go to the Bible trying to prove what you want to prove. Go to the Bible and let it say what it does. People have run rampant with some of these things, and it's wrong.